Okay, I'm going to show you guys where we're at here today at the Mustang. Now, don't get super excited. I didn't get that far ahead where I started welding everything, or it's all welded up. This is what you do when you're welding on new front sheet metal. You never saw it when I did the passenger side, but when I did the inner fender, I had put the outer fender on it. When I had the inner fender tacked in place, I put the outer fender on. And of course you have to put the hood on. Now you see what you want to do with your hood never lies to you, okay? Your hood is your starting point. Because most hoods need to line up. You see your cowl up there? That's your cowl. Your hood needs to line up with the cowl. This one actually has also a body line, you can see. Look how beautiful that is. Look at this gap all the way along. It's a beautiful gap. And I just quickly threw this fender on here. This fender can even be better when I get it in place. But I've already lined this fender up before with the hood. You never saw it in the video. What I'm doing now here today is, obviously you can see again the hood. If it's in line on that side, it's got to be in line on this side unless there's something wrong with the hood. The hood has got a beautiful line, lining right up. We've got a good gap here. See the nice gap? But you notice as I'm coming down, look at this. So what do? Well, you open the hood and there's a bolt right there. And you pull the fender out because all the bolts have adjustment as far as you can. Well, this is already out as far as it can. So that tells me that the inner panel where it welds, let me see if I can do this. Let me see if I can do this. This inner panel that I've just tacked on right now, it welds onto this front rad support. I put a spot weld underneath the fender. You can't see it. I need to pull the fender back off. I need to cut the spot weld and open this up 1/8 of an inch. Because the fender I've already got pushed out as far as I can, and as you saw, the hood was hitting it. So it tells me I do not have this in line properly in the front, but in the back I do. So let's see if I can get this. Obviously the hood's not. Let's see if I can get this hood back down in place here. Bear with me. There we go. So as you can see, again, I've lined up the hood with the cowl, because the cowl is part of the car. The cowl does not come off. It is not lying where it's got to be. It's telling the truth. The hood has to line up with the cowl. You put your hood on, you line it up, then you go for your gaps. Again, like I say, we've got a nice gap here. If anything, I can push the fender in a hair, which it allows me to. There's movement up there. But, as I say, and as it comes down, I need to get the fender out. I can't get it out because I need to change the spot where I've welded the inner fender to it. So this is why a lot of times customers get a bill and they don't see this going on. This is also why sometimes people do cars and then they think they're going to bolt it together in the end of the day and it doesn't line up because they didn't go through this process, because they don't want to take the time to put all this shit on. Because trust me, it's time consuming to bolt the front end on. And again, we're going back to the same topic. This is where the customer doesn't see this getting done, because when the customer's going to show up here, I'm going to have all the front end off it. So he's never going to see how I'm doing all this. He's not going to realize I spent hours trying to line this up to get it right, only to save him money in the end, because if I had not spent the time to do it, I would have been fucking around there later on in life trying to grind and slot the fenders and move them out, which is not right, if you understand what I'm saying. So now I will lift the hood off, throw it off to the side. I'll take the other fender off. I don't even need to worry about it anymore. I will pull this out a bit, and the inner fender, I'll cut the spot weld, let it recess its, let it relieve itself and come out a little bit, maybe 1/8 of an inch. Set the fender back on, set the hood on, make sure I got my nice line and gap there. Boom! Bob's your uncle. Okay, so that is what I'm doing right now. Okay, so here we go. Unbolted the fender, took it off, just slid the hood off to the side. Good enough, it's out of my way. And there you go. See how small little spot weld I put on there? That's all I did was a little spot weld like that. So all I'm going to do now is I'm going to cut that, because you can see the movement that it allows, and see where the clip is? The clip is all the way over. It needs to come over more. How's it going to come over more? You're going to cut this, you're going to relieve this and let it come out a bit. Once you do that, you're going to be good. Now I know it's 1/8 of an inch, so I'm just going to bring her out 1/8 of an inch, do another spot weld like that, put my fender on, slide my hood over, and let's hopefully that's going to work. But everything right now you can see, jack stand, jack, everything is just mocked up in place. I never just start jamming it in there and welding and going to town on it. I just don't. And then once I get this lined up, then I'll weld this in so I know it doesn't move. Then we'll start messing around with that whole shit show over there. Okay, so here we go. After a couple attempts at taking the fender on and off, I have now got, and you see this is all lining up nicely. Look at that nice line. It's all lining right up. And don't forget, I mean, the car can be even lined up better once it's all together. This is just a mock-up, right? And you see there. Now this is a little bigger here, but that's because I loosened the fender bolt here, but I've got room to push this in, so I'm not worried about this right now. So, but the nice thing is that I've got a gap. This is sitting down a bit because the rubber bumper's not in. But look at, remember we had no gap there whatsoever before. So there we go. So, remember, take your time, pre-fit stuff, and go through it. Don't jump the gun. Don't rush ahead and just start welding everything on and thinking it's all going to line up, even though you take measurements, which you saw, I told you, and I wrote them in a book, and I think I showed you on there. I had several measurements everywhere. Don't always go by that, because sometimes you take measurements of your factory panels, but the new panels you put on might be a little wider and a little narrower, you don't know. There's always a little bit of movement there, a little give and take. So it's best to tack things in place, fit your sheet metal on, try it out, allow yourself to have a little bit of room, 1/8 of an inch, you know, to 1/4 of an inch of movement on your bolt holes, on your fenders, on your hood, everything. So when the final time comes, you've got your movement there. So you're not taking fenders and oblonging holes out. Worst comes to worst, and you do mess something up and you get something a little too tight, you can oblong out a hole, you know, on a hood hinge or on the fender. You can do that. You can do it. It's not, people do it all the time. But we try to avoid doing that because all fenders and doors and everything already come with allowment of movement in them. So you try and get it the best you can. But trust me, this coming from me, 50% of the time I get them lined up and I'm able to use the factory holes. The other 50% of the time, I got to tweak them just a hair. Just a hair. So it happens. When you're dealing with aftermarket parts, nothing ever fits 100% properly, and that is why we fit and try. Okay, remember, it's always a good time and old time. Thanks for watching. I'm going to get my ass back to work on the Mustang, and we'll see you later.